Danica, Jeb, thanks so much for joining me by the magic of the internet today. It's great to see you.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
You tour, you're playing, most weeks of the year. Do you find yourself on the road? I know that you get a little time off, but...
Yeah, last year I think we were on the road for 250 days.
Wow.
It's about 130 shows from California to Maine, Canada to Texas, and everywhere in Europe.
Wow, that is exciting. How many years have you been doing this for?
This is 10?
10.
10 or
10
so?
now.
Wow, that is awesome. And tell me about the stuff that you're performing as you go. How do you keep it fresh and interesting for you as you're performing that many shows?
We have, 6 hours worth of music that we do.
Okay.
And most shows are an hour and a half.
Okay.
So we actually just did a show where it was two double shows, a 5 o'clock followed by a 7:30.
Mm-hmm.
And there was very little crossover between what we did, and that helps.
Sure.
And also, Jeb does a lot of improv, so even though if the song might be the same from concert to concert, it's never going to feel the same because of what's happening on the improv side of things.
Yeah. We should probably acknowledge you have a couple of four-legged friends that are in another room. Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
They're on the far side of the house.
They are.
Well, we can all appreciate it. I think we've all seen the video of even the little one, the guy who was doing the professional interview, and he had the little kid walking behind. So I'm just so grateful that you have time for us today. Thank you. And hopefully
Thank you.
Yeah.
Of course.
So you've been playing and touring for 10 years. Were you both playing a lot of music before? I mean, tell me about your kind of musical history. I'm fascinated. I always love to learn a little bit about what brought you to music in the first place.
Sure. Well, I grew up in the theater, and I'm classically trained in the Suzuki method on piano.
Okay.
As a kid, and my parents, I'm one of 5 kids, and they put all of us in every activity, all of the sports and all of the music things, and just to see what would stick. And for me, it was absolutely music. It was piano and singing, theater, for sure.
And Jeb, you...
Yeah, so I've been playing music my whole life. For the most part, I started on saxophone and went to guitar and bass and drums and started recording, learning how to do that when I was 15. Mm-hmm. So I've been recording other people's bands since then. It's been quite a long time. And I spent most of my life teaching people how to play guitar and bass guitar and saxophone. So yeah, it's always been there.
That's really exciting. I know I've heard wonderful things. I've enjoyed listening to your guitar work, and Danica, I've definitely enjoyed seeing the clips that I've seen and heard of you online too. Hearing you say that you were classically trained and enjoyed, I'd love to explore a little bit more about your relationship with pianos. And I studied actually piano myself growing up and also did classical, but there's a kind of a big jump between doing classical and reading, sheet music and not even interpreting, just trying to play other people's music versus doing covers of pop music and then creating and improvising your own. But tell me about your journey with this. Like, what inspired you? What kind of fed your muse as you continued with it? What do you really enjoy doing now with pianos?
Sure, that is such a good question and such a good point you bring up. Because I was classically trained, I don't know if you're familiar with the Suzuki method, but it's really kind of an ear training program.
Right.
So I never really learned how to read music very well.
No.
And I specifically remember sitting down to write music and play pop and contemporary things for the first time, thinking, oh, I know how to play piano. This will be really easy. But they're actually two completely different and hardly even related skill sets. I actually feel like I had to start back over at the very beginning just to learn simple things, chord comp and chord structures. They don't teach you that stuff when you're trained the way I was. So I thought I would have this big head start, but I didn't. Not at all.
You may have had the fingers, but yeah, the interpretation, the ability to get your head around it is something else. I actually
Exactly.
found my journey, I played piano for a long time, and then I played guitar, and I found actually because of, it's not linear, there's so many different ways to orient yourself on a fretboard, and then I started studying guitar and got into some theory there that I was able to like translate back to piano and think about, chord progressions and it was just, I just approached it in a very different way and was actually able to understand some of what I tried to study in piano better from this outsider perspective, and was able to free myself up a lot more too.
Yes.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah. But we're not here to talk about me. So tell me about the pieces. Do you know ahead of time with all this repertoire, how do you think about what you're going to play? What's the kind of creative process?
We do a number of pieces that Danica always says that we wish we wrote.
Right.
Like While My Guitar Gently Weeps from the Beatles, we do a version of that. Mm-hmm. And that goes over really well. And well, of course it does. It's the Beatles.
Also, we take our audience into consideration.
Mm-hmm.
Where we're going to be playing. If there is a really nice piano, of course, we include our piano things, whereas we don't always do that. Sometimes there's not enough room.
Right.
Sometimes the piano hasn't been tuned in 15 years, and we say, oh, that's okay, we just won't use that tonight.
It's a nice prop in the background. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, that happens more often than not.
Even at very nice places, I would say.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, you would be surprised. So.
Yeah, of course. And even though it's piano may be tuned to itself, it may not be in tune with the other instruments.
Right.
So that's something to consider too. We have been to a couple of places where the piano sounded fantastic, but not with the guitar.
Wow, that's interesting. You're playing tonight in Iowa, or you're playing soon in Iowa? We were speaking right now. No.
Yes, we have a show in a couple of days. This is our downtime, and we're actually repairing equipment right now. We had a little mishap where our speakers fell off of the hand truck.
Oh dear.
And they broke. So
Sorry.
today we're having airmail parts, and that's what we'll be working on, is getting everything ready to go for that show.
Well, I hope that all goes smoothly and there's no surprises as you go through repairs. That's always a little stressful.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
No, it's okay. It's the nature of being in this business. You perform and you drive and travel, and things like weather and unforeseen accidents happen.
Yep.
No problem.
Well, good luck. I wish you all the best with that. I know we're going to have a little clip that we're going to play after this interview. I don't know if there's anything else you'd like to share with folks, if you have any kind of words of inspiration for other musicians who may be listening to us today, or any kind of final thoughts before we sign off.
Words of inspiration for other musicians. Okay, sure. One of the things that we talk about, having done this 10 years, it's the people who stay out on the road and continue to do it that become successful. So if you ever think about quitting, all you have to do is just don't. I know that sounds silly, but I was told before that any musician who doesn't think about quitting at least half a dozen times a year isn't doing enough for their career. So it's a fine balance between burnout and success, right? And you just have to ride that and continue to go.
That is solid advice from somebody who clearly knows what you're talking about. Just keep going down the road. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Right on. Well, it's such a pleasure talking to you today. Thank you so much for joining me.
And I saw you walking on a Sunday afternoon. When I passed you by, you smiled and said, when you gonna finally make up your mind and call me? Yeah, you. So come on, baby, let's take it slow. Got nothing but time, no need to rush, no. So come on, baby, let's take it slow. Got nothing but time. Well, dinner and drinks from a room with a view, and talking all night like we've got nothing else to do, and spending our hours like time's been locked up, and we hold the key. And yes, we do, yeah. So come on, baby, let's take it slow. Got nothing but time, no need to rush, no. So come on, baby, let's take it slow. And got nothing but time, infinity. Oh yeah. Well, infinity. All right, let's slow this down now. All right. Rumor has it that you guys had a really long winter up here. Is that true? Okay. All right, well, we're gonna do the opposite of winter right now. I want you to imagine yourself on a beach where it's nice and hot and sunny, and your toes are in the sand, and it smells like coconut, and your drink has a little umbrella in it. Are you there? So come on, baby, let's take it slow. Got nothing but time, no need to rush, no. So come on, baby, let's take it slow. Got nothing but time. Well, infinity. Oh yeah. Well, infinity. Well, infinity. So come on, baby, let's take it slow. Got nothing but time, no need to rush. No. So come on, baby, let's take it slow. And got nothing but time, infinity. Well, yeah. Well, infinity. Infinity, yeah. Infinity, yeah.
Thank you, John, for joining me today. It's great to talk to you.
Thank you, Clayton, for having me.
How music has brought us together, which in some ways awesome is that it's through song that can be shared even remotely through Wax or whatever different types of recordings there are, that we can share common experiences.
What I think of as popular music, and that's the music of all of us, that's, whether it's small towns, cities, country, different regions, professions, whatever. It's and whether it's commercial or more homespun, because there's no clear line between the two. It's all music, and I think what that does is that tells our stories. It's a way we have of telling our stories, our collective stories, and our collective experiences, and our individual experiences that then become collective. And so really it's the music of a people it's part of what forms their identity as a people. It's part of what makes us a culture, you know? And I think there's other things that make us a culture too, but that's a big function of popular music. And we do very much have a culture, you know? It's we have experiences in history that we share, in some, you know, for good, or in some cases for not so good. But we're still sharing it.
And it's in those shared experiences that our culture is forged and celebrated or recognized. It's not always something we need to celebrate. Sometimes it's things we have to grapple with and come to the truth of. Yeah.
Right, acknowledge. And
acknowledge, yeah.
But yeah, celebrating can be taken in more than one way. You can celebrate. We've come to think of celebrating as a festive thing. We celebrate a holiday, but there are holidays that are not happy occasions. There are events of mourning. I mean, so you can,
recognizing, yeah.
So
and then like there's whole parts of music that we can think of that are not about a happy. I mean, there's the blues, right? Such an American icon that we find comfort by going into some of the hardest places in our hearts, and it's hardest humans experience, but and people who don't hear, why would you want to go into that? When did you first get into the blues? How did you develop a relationship with that kind of music?
Oh boy.
I know that's a big question.
Yeah, it's always hard. I just love the music.
Yeah.
But I love all music. I grew up, you know, my father listened to music. He had some records, not that many. And no blues records, but he liked artists like Louis Jordan, and some of those some of the early combos that were basically the roots of modern R&B. You know, and he appreciated, you know, he liked Billie Holiday, he liked stuff like that, he liked jazz, and so I was already listening to music, and then because of that, at one point, it was actually through a library. We would go to the library when I was a kid, and I would check out records and
actual like vinyl.
Huh?
Was it actual vinyl? Yeah.
Oh yeah, well I'm a vinyl person.
Yeah, I can see you got a collection right next to you. Yeah.
That's just a small part of it.
Sure, yeah.
It gets to be kind of unwieldy whenever I have to move around. But,
it is not light. There's something about carrying, you know, our music collection in our phones that, like, it may not have the same, you know, experience. You can't enjoy the cover art or the liners or, you know, but it's a lot easier to move.
Yeah. Anyway, so I checked out some library. I checked out a record at the library that was it was different sounds of the 20th century, and it was interesting because it was a 2-record set, and the first record had some songs from World War I that I thought were just absolutely fascinating. And a song about the Lusitania and Over There and stuff like that. And, you know, just the style and of the times. And then I'm listening to the second side, and I knew about some of the big bands, so there was some stuff I was familiar with. And then there was this song, this guy I'd never heard before. Heard of it was Hellhound on My Trail by Robert Johnson.
Oh, a classic.
I was a little kid. I was probably like 6th grade or something like that. And it got to that song. I was just like, wow, this is just really cool.
You lined up and said, where can I sell mine? That's great. Where can I mean, the whole story about Robert Johnson selling his soul at the crossroads.
Right.
Yeah. Saying, where do we get in line? Give me some of that.
Right. Yeah. I just thought that was one of the most awesome things I'd heard. So that, you know, led eventually
opened a door. Yeah.
Led to listening to a lot more blues, and, rock blues, you know. And stuff like that. That's what I gravitated towards, but I listen to everything, really.
Yeah. And so you got a wide, very promiscuous listening, which I think is very good. Do you find yourself playing a lot of different things, or do you find when you play that you gravitate towards certain styles of music as well?
I tend not to, or try not to, interchangeably think about style too much when I'm playing, and it's just about the song and whatever it happens to be. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I'll consciously aim for something and it comes out to not be that, or people don't hear it that way. And, I'm just, it becomes more about the song and the performance and what it takes. And I'm not a big fan of labels. And that's
way too often constraining, not liberating. Yeah.
That's what I like about the term popular music. I kind of believe that there is just music. Yeah. And it's all music, and it's there's different influences that seep into it and different experiences that different people have had, but we're all human. We all have the same feelings, the same souls, and we all find a way to share that stuff through songs. Yeah. And
I'm reminded, around the turn of the millennium, Richard Thompson did an album of 1,000 Years of Popular Music. I don't know if you're familiar with that collection that he did. He tried to take popular music from like Gregorian chants through, there's lots of coffee in Brazil to, I don't know, up through, I think he did a Britney Spears song as well. And he's like, this is all popular music. This is music of the people. It's a beautiful thing.
Good. Yeah. Now that you mention it, I have heard of it. I haven't heard it. Yeah. I have some. I have a number of Richard Thompson albums. I don't have that one, but I had some friends. Was it an album or was it a show he did?
I did not see it, so I heard it recorded in some fashion. I've looked for it a couple of times. I'm not sure it's on a lot of the popular music platforms right now. I don't think he makes it available on Spotify. You could probably find it on YouTube some corners.
It probably doesn't fit into enough of a label for them to.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I actually, my son was telling me of a playlist that somebody he knows put together that he was following. That was all of the different. It was one song for each label that Spotify categorized as music, but it was just one. So it was like three, however many hundreds of songs long, but each one representing a different genre, which I thought was kind of interesting itself to try to. A representation from each genre, but to put it all together. So,
I think that's how it should. I love that idea.
Yeah.
Have it all be together, and but it's also it's nice to be able to focus on something for a while. Say, I'm going to just listen to the Stones or just Dylan or just.
Well, yeah, and when you get into the blues, there's so much jazz as a label. What does that even mean sometimes? To think about, everything from the Hot 5 and 7s and what Louis Armstrong was doing, 100 years ago through, you just look at Miles Davis and the 7 different revolutions or whatever that he, was responsible for. It's the same music. How is this it's all music. It goes back to what we were saying before. Right. Is that these labels really don't mean anything. When we're communicating musically, it's just communication. It's ideas in a nonverbal form. Sometimes the lyrics.
Yeah. On some level, I guess there's an advantage to being able to group things according to, I want to listen to this kind of style. It's helpful for songwriting or performing. I want to focus on this. But other than that, other than being able to fit your personal needs at a certain moment, labels, a lot of it's unnecessarily dividing us. Yeah. A lot of it's separating things into different groups of people and stuff like that. It's not necessary.
Sometimes what matters is, can I dance to it? Or is it something that I can go to sleep to? It can serve a different purpose, and so you can classify them in those kind of ways and have wide variety within those kind of classifications.
I think I read. I think it was Duke Ellington, jazz band leader, that a lot of people have been nudging towards being almost like a classical composer over the past, since his death. But I read something that while he was alive, he said "Oh, I'm just doing folk music,"
Yeah.
which I think is it's a pretty cool quote. I assume it was something along those lines, but yeah, that sort of sums it up. Interchange folk with popular. I prefer popular because it doesn't have certain ramifications to it that folk does.
How do we go from this, this common understanding, but it still has roots? We're talking about the roots of American popular culture. And you're drawn from a lot of different elements.
As far as I'm concerned, the most important thing is really always entertainment. I think good stories or stories that are relevant to our lives and our experiences can be entertaining and still be relevant. And I'm not a teacher. I'm a performer. So to me, the important thing is to make it entertaining. Try to make it fun for people.
John, I think you're being very humble. I think there's a lot of education that happens in entertainment too, that I appreciate, and I think that's a really important perspective. And we should celebrate that in ourselves. And so it's good to feel good. There's a reason it feels good, right?
Mm-hmm.
And right. We can appreciate the intellectual places that we go, but we can also just appreciate that we're here to exist and experience this together. And just that common experience can be really joyful.
Here's a song of mine called The Green at Lexington. I hope you enjoy it. This 19th day of April, 5:30 in the morning, we met a rebel mob that of our coming had been warned. They had gathered in the pale first light of the rising sun, and they tried to face us down upon the green at Lexington. They numbered around 40, we were numbered many more. We were fit and polished as the uniforms we wore. They were raw, they were restless, and someone fired a gun. And 8 of them we killed upon the green at Lexington. When the smoke had cleared away, their blood alone was shed. Nothing do they have to show for the wounded and the dead. And surely there's a father somewhere who will mourn the son who gave his life in folly on the green at Lexington. The main road along the fields and farms, and in the town of Concord we'll secure their store of arms. Then we'll return to Boston and our work will be done, and they'll lay to rest those fallen on the green at Lexington.